The Kansas City Chiefs have to be very happy to hear this conversation about the Jaguars because the last thing anyone there has to worry about is anyone wanting out, is any type of dysfunction, any type of tanking. They already got Patrick Mahomes. He's signed for 12 more years. And now Andy Reid and Brett Veach, Peter, they get the fruits of their labor and of finding and trusting in themselves on Patrick Mahomes. New contracts for them. Looks like stability for the Chiefs for a long time to come.
Well, Mike, I remember being around the Chiefs a lot last year in January and February, and I got the distinct impression that there may be an expiration date on Andy Reid, 3-4 years down the road, maybe. But here he is. He's 62 years old. He's been totally rejuvenated by working with Patrick Mahomes. He loves his coaching staff. He loves this team. And I think he just felt, I've got a general manager who basically completes my sentences. I really like the situation we're in. I believe there's a good chance he'll fulfill the 6 years. You never know. But at the age of 62, I think he saw himself coaching, at least, the next 5-6 years so that he can have the benefit of working with Patrick Mahomes. And again, you cannot emphasize enough how much he is at peace, not only with the city and with the job, but also with his general manager. He and Brett Veach came in during the 2016 college football season and basically told Andy Reid, I got a guy for you. And in his spare time, he would watch Patrick Mahomes. And at the same time, Veach was working working his friends in the league and trying to figure out who are we going to trade with to get Patrick Mahomes. So they moved up, I think, 17 spots and were able to move up and get Mahomes, and the rest is history.
Yeah, it's amazing. I wouldn't expect a guy like Andy Reid to want to walk away anytime soon. Man, you got to ride this train right now. What? I mean, you have a chance to go. I mean, and really, Andy Reid went from 1 year going to, oh, man, gosh, this is one of the more, underrated great coaches of our time. He can't win the big game, to now he won the big game in one of the most stunning fashions we've ever seen. And he's got this great quarterback, and you're going, uh-oh, watch out. Kansas City might let it fly now. They might win 4 out of the next 6. I mean, I don't think any of us would sit here and go, oh, my gosh, if Kansas City won 3 more Super Bowls in the next 6 years, I wouldn't be shocked. So Mahomes is, I'm sure, made Andy Reid feel younger. The pressure's off the situation. We know Andy's a, fun-loving, good guy who likes the grind of it. And to what Peter and Mike, you said as well, like, Brett Veach is the perfect complement. I mean, hey, ever since Brett Veach has been there in Kansas City, he has found a way to get talent. And they've had talent on the roster. And then, the vision to make the move for Patrick Mahomes. And I just like to remind everybody, before Patrick Mahomes got there, they were the number 2 seed in the AFC playoffs. They had already built a damn good team, and they looked at it and said, damn, we need just a quarterback that can make a difference. And that's where they made an aggressive move, got Mahomes to what Peter is saying, and it's changed their organization. So you can't say enough about the coach, the ability to evaluate players, and what they put together there in Kansas City is pretty damn special.
And he had a lot bigger
Mike,
margin
can I just
for
say
error.
one?
Go ahead.
Mike, let me just say one other thing. Life oftentimes, when you get to be in your 60s, and I speak from experience on that, life becomes a series of things that you can choose to do if you enjoy doing them. Why do I do the job I do right now? Because I really still love it, okay? And I'll give you an Andy Reid example of that. Here's a 61-year-old football coach, and I asked him in the dead week last week, between the championship game and the Super Bowl, if I could ride to work one morning with him and just talk to him. I had done it with Sean McVay the previous year, Doug Peterson the year before that, and I write the column the week before the Super Bowl. Hey, here's the mindset of one of the coaches in the Super Bowl. So Andy Reid tells me, I'll pick you up at your hotel at 3:15 a.m.
What?
I said, oh my God. Well, okay. All right. I'll be ready. And I got down at about 3:10, 3:11. And there's Andy Reid. he's sitting in the driveway of the hotel waiting for me. I said, when did you get there? He goes, oh, about 3-4 minutes ago. So let's say Andy Reid got there at 3:07. I mean, here's a guy who just can't wait to get to work. And so you wonder, geez, you're maybe starting to get into the time when people were thinking it's your golden years. For Andy Reid, he wants to spend his golden years with Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, when you finally have a quarterback who makes you look good just by showing up, who can go out there and clean up your messes on the fly without a complaint. The play you called didn't work. Well, the quarterback you have will abandon that play, come up with something on the fly, run left, run right, throw it behind his back if he has to, and you look like the genius, although everybody kind of knows it's Mahomes. But that's the thing. They've already done the hard work. They drafted him. They signed him. They have him for 12 more years. Now's the part where you just sit back and enjoy the spoils, Chris, of having one of the best quarterbacks of all time and seeing how many Super Bowls he can deliver.
That's right. I mean, this is a dream come true for a mad scientist like Andy Reid. I mean, it is like, oh, you go here, you go here, you go here. Just everybody go deep. This guy will throw it to you, let alone, what kind of – and Peter could probably speak to this better than anybody. And honestly, Peter, I want to hear you talk about this after. The energy Mahomes can bring to a building on every day, right? Just that. The cool, calm, collect, humbleness, but yet we see the videos out at practice. He's always energetic. He's competing, throwing balls in a garbage can, paying tribute to the Black Panther yesterday, the actor who passed away. I mean, he's a breath of fresh air. And I would think as a head coach, and especially as an offensive head coach who's very into the quarterback position, it just probably makes everything in the building life easier on a daily basis, let alone what he does on the field. And I'm sure Andy Reid has had this a little bit. I would think it almost reminds him of Brett Favre, where, man, every day I came in, Brett Favre's a crazy guy in Green Bay. He loves throwing lasers all over the field, and the whole team just, gravitates toward that. I would think there's some magic there. You tell me if I'm wrong, Peter, about Mahomes.
Yeah, Chris, I think you're right. But there's one other thing that I think, even takes this to the next level beyond Favre, and that is, and I'll give you an example. I'll tell you when Andy Reid knew absolutely for sure that he had his quarterback for the next 15 years or however long he coaches him. In 2018, the Kansas City Chiefs had to fire Kareem Hunt because they felt he had been dishonest with the organization about an off-season event involving abuse of a woman. And so they fired him on a Friday afternoon. And on Saturday, they had to fly to Oakland for a game. But on Saturday morning, Patrick Mahomes, who at the time was younger than 49 of the 53 players, or the other 52 players, rather, on the roster, Patrick Mahomes asked Andy Reid, can I talk to the team? Can I just have some time? And they had a players-only meeting, no coaches. Andy Reid, to this day, doesn't know for sure what Mahomes said to him. But he granted Patrick the time with the team, probably only 2 or 3 minutes. And in that time, Mahomes said, we all love Kareem Hunt. Everybody here in this room, regardless of what happened, he's always going to be a friend of ours and all this. But he said, we cannot let this derail our season. We can't let this be a ruinous turning point for this team. And all the players walked out of the room. That is when Andy Reid knew. He not only had Patrick Mahomes, the kind of loose player, great practice player, all that stuff, and great player in games, he also had the leader of the team when 48 guys on the team were younger than he was.
And see, that's the thing.
Or older, rather.
Know.
Sorry.
You don't know, and you never will know when you're scouting players coming into the NFL. Whether it's Mitchell Trubisky, Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Kaiser was part of that group in 2017. There was another one or two. I just remember there was this cluster of quarterbacks where no one really quite knew what was going to happen, and we never know. Because one of the reasons we don't know whether or not a guy has that stuff, that inherent makeup, to be able to take over a locker room the way that Patrick Mahomes can. We didn't know it until he did it. And that's why, Peter, I think Andy Reid had that epiphany. When you see the guy do it, that's when you realize he's got it. And all the time and effort they spend scouting and watching film and talking to these guys in a hotel room in Indianapolis, you don't know that until it actually happens.
No, you don't. You're right.
That was
sorry. Go ahead, Peter.
I was just going to say that really was the key thing, and that happened a year and a half after they drafted him, Mike.
Mike, the other thing I just think is amazing about Mahomes that we just got to talk about since we're on it too, just there, again, he's what do I want to say? Unflappable, inflappable. How the hell? What's that word there? That
you really are gunfly. It's unflappable,
unflappable,
and inflammable.
Okay,
and inflammable.
But he's unflappable. He's the most unflappable quarterback I've ever seen in my life, and he's only going into year 4 of his career. I mean, it's insane. And I'll go back to something that, my dad told me that the Tennessee Titan coaches told him last year at the AFC Championship game. Hey, you guys going to blitz Mahomes? Nope, we're not going to. You can't fluster Mahomes. We've seen him for 3 years now. Nobody flusters him. And, I mean, if you just think about it, I think that's the most amazing thing to me about the guy. Hey, the talent is through the roof, and we know that. Peter talks about, the leadership and being humble and all that's amazing too. I'm just amazed that no matter what the situation, hey, it's a bad half in the AFC Championship game against the Patriots. Oh, he comes out, zing, zing, zing. Oh, whoa, it's a game. Oh, New England's taking control of the game. Whoa, Kansas City has 40 seconds to go down and kick a field goal. No problem, zing. Okay, now this year in the AFC playoffs, the Super Bowl. I mean, what the hell? It's just unbelievable. I've never seen a kid come into the league and just be like, oh, hey, it's I'm in the backyard or I'm at the schoolyard again playing ball and just dominating. No big deal.
Yeah, I agree. And it gives the team confidence, it gives him confidence. Chris, something you've said time and again, getting that first one so early, it gives him that faith. Even though they had to come from behind double digits every single game along the way to get there in the postseason, it gives him that confidence that he can just keep doing it and doing it and doing it, Peter. And that's why we've got guys on that roster. And if I'm Andy Reid, I don't like this, talking about 6 or 7 championships by the time it's all said and done.
Yeah, Andy does not like that at all because he remembers the last time when that happened and everybody said in Philadelphia they had a dream team.
Right.
And they stunk. And Vince Young and Nnamdi Asomugha and everything, and it just didn't work. So, yeah, I think Bill Belichick, and I'm going to absolutely massacre some cliche that he has that, it's a lot better to do than to say. Tom Brady says that now, and I don't know what it is, but you get the message. I think Reid would rather have them do it, but that's really that's the feeling internally on that team.
And I think the key for Andy Reid now and the challenge for him and the Chiefs going forward, and they're about to get their Super Bowl rings. They teased it last night on Twitter, and that's going to dust off those good feelings they had back in February. You kind of like to put that all to bed. Belichick's big on that. Whatever happened last year, you close that book, you put it on the shelf, and you forget about it until you retire. That's going to be the challenge for the Chiefs now. How do you handle the fact that book's still open? You're not going to close it until you get that ring. You're getting that ring at 9 days, 8 days, 7 days before you start your title defense. Belichick's always big on that. Get the trip to the White House out of the way. Get the rings distributed. We're forgetting about last year because last year doesn't matter at all. And look, with Patrick Mahomes, everything's possible. But that's the next challenge. Can they forget about last year and focus on this year, Peter?
I mean, what I saw when I saw them for a couple of days out in Kansas City, the answer is yes. And look, they're infusing their team with a superb young player, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, that, who I think is going to bring some new energy to this team and bring some new excitement to this team. Much like, in my opinion, Kareem Hunt did in 2017 when he came in as the 85th pick in the draft and won the rushing title. So I think there's going to be some newness. There's going to be a little bit of newness on defense too, more speed at linebacker. So, they're infusing this team with some youth at a time when every team has to.
Yeah, they've done a great job of staying ahead of the curve. They do have young talent. You're right about that. They got a good offensive line. They got a good defensive line. Hey, they got guys that weren't a part of that Super Bowl run last year because of injuries are going to be back in the fold this year that you can almost look at and go like, that's a free agent, you know. They're going to have Okafor back on the end of the defensive line. You know, Breland Speaks, he'll be back. Another good defensive end, defensive tackle type. Juan Thornhill, their starting safety, he was a rookie last year. He wasn't a part of it. You know, Sammy Watkins, they get him to stay healthy. So, Mike, I hear you. It's odd to be getting the rings right now because you got to think about this. There's a number of guys that are going to be in that locker room that they weren't there last year. So, you know, close the yearbook. It is. It's very weird that you're going to be diving back into last year's thoughts this early, you know, into the next following season. But I do think this is a group that can handle that. I do think they want to be great. And I think what we're all saying is we think, at least, and you guys correct me, I think this is the jump off point. You know, I think some people might go, wait, are they going to still be motivated? Or is this going to take the pressure off and they're going to run with it? And I'm one of those. I think the pressure's off and on Mahomes, Andy Reid, and everything. And I feel like they're the type of group that's going to just relish kind of having the bullseye on their back and just letting it fly.
You know, part of the reality of giving out the rings this week, too, you're going to have some bottom of the roster guys who are going to get a Super Bowl ring one day and maybe a pink slip a couple of days later.
It's weird.
If new guys are making the team, old guys are going to be gone, and it's going to be kind of a strange week for some of those guys.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.